Okay, I'm going to turn back on the full self-driving here for the return from the supercharger in Harlingen back to the island. This should be a fairly uninvincible drive. Well, almost. I'm going to take over here. It's not. Okay, it's getting over all the way on its own. Kind of shaky. These U-turns here in Texas are kind of a hit and miss. Really shouldn't be stopping here, but needs to keep going, so I'm pushing through on it since I have a truck behind me. All the issues I've had with full self-driving, all the issues always seem to do with navigation data. In the previous drive I had to the Harlingen airport, I did have that one guy cutting me off or not letting me over for the exit. So I had to kind of take over, otherwise I would have missed that exit. I could have let it keep going and it would have rerouted, but you know, I'm trying to get the customers there to the airport for their flight. Do have this same version of the software, which is 13 point, what is it? 11.3.6, I mean, which is what I'm running. But they also have re-released that on the latest build of the 2023.12.10. I'm not sure why they're not adding that 11.4.1 or 2 to that. So right now there's 2 builds of the software, the 2023.12.10 and the 2022.45.15. Both of those builds have the same full self-driving 11.3.6, which is what I'm running. Have not seen any big pushes for the 11.4.1. Not sure if we are going to see a big push for that. Like I say, it's kind of weird because re-release of the old 11.3 on the newer build just came out a few days ago. So hopefully they are still making some progress with that. Tesla has done quite a bit with the full self-driving. I've also noticed in the latest builds of the software, they're now including vehicles with hardware 4. some Model S's and X's. For a while, the hardware 4 vehicles were on their own individual build, but I noticed recently the newer builds now include those. So they've merged all of them together. It'd be nice to see if the current future builds will have the full self-driving beta built into it, and just an option to enable that instead of having so many different builds to software. It would be nice to be able to keep up with the current builds. But I understand them keeping them separate for right now. But I'm sure it's getting complicated for them to keep track of all of them. While I was charging there at the supercharger, I had a gentleman asking me on how to charge his car. It seems how up here at the Harlingen Airport, I'm just increasing the speed a little bit because these vehicles are on the interstate here like to do over 70, 80 miles per hour, even though it is only a 65. As you can see, I'm still being passed on the right side. And I don't know if you can see that, but there's another 3 cars that have been bought at an auction and being driven, judging by the Mexican plates going to Mexico. The car is thinking about trying to get over, I believe, but it's waiting for this other car to make up its mind if it's going to pass or not. That's what he was doing. To watch the cars behind you and get out of their way if they're trying to pass. I just hope they're doing that more often. It'd be nice if the car would watch, take evasive actions if someone's coming up behind me and not braking. It will do whatever it can to get out of the way if it can safely do it. I would not mind my car pulling over to the shoulder if a car behind me is a Honda and not stopping and bumping the car in front of me instead of hitting me. Personally, after having a couple accidents in Teslas and having to wait for a long period of time to get my car back, it hurts me more than anything else. I lose a lot of money during that time. Since I do Uber and Lyft in a Tesla, this is primarily what I do for a living now. I've been in the computer IT field since the 70s, and I've done everything in hardware, software, network admin, network security. And since I came out here in October 2020 for 3 days to check out SpaceX, I've just been relaxing and taking it easy, just doing the Uber and Lyft and trying to make ends meet and that, and trying to work on pictures and videos for the YouTube channel whenever I have time. It'd be nice if I had enough viewers on the channel to be able to actually make a decent amount of money to afford to do that. If y'all are wondering, I'm making maybe 70 cents a day, if that, just from my daily live streams and my time-lapse videos. And I can't live off of 70 cents. That doesn't pay for everything. I do have bills to pay. I have my home back in Louisiana to take care of. I do have a friend that takes care of the house whenever he has time. Y'all have heard his music. I played his music on my channel quite a few times. I recommend you check out his YouTube channel. His name is Jack Woodson. Way Up Here was one of his songs that I've featured quite a few times. Dealt with NASA and astronauts. So he's, I kind of met him as when I was trying to find someone that can cut my grass for me while I'm away, since I've been down here almost 3 years. I really should try to make it home and work on the house and clean up the inside of it. My home is in Louisiana. Unfortunately, I cannot drive Uber and Lyft in Louisiana with Texas tags. And now that I'm down here, I have got the tags for Texas here to drive Uber and Lyft here while watching SpaceX. So, it makes it kind of hard to go home for a few days. Plus, I have my cat at the hotel. And, like I said, I'm still trying to get ahead and pay all the bills and stuff. I keep buying a lot of cameras and stuff. Honestly, in the time that I've been down here, I have spent over $30,000 in camera equipment, lenses and stuff like that, streaming device, and all that. That comes out of my own pocket. I also have 2 Starlink satellite services, one at my house, which I had always planned to get anyway, because AT&T's DSL in the country of Opelousas, Louisiana, just totally, it sucked. I mean, I've had it since, I've lived there. 2008 is when I bought that house and property, and the best they could ever give me was 8 or 9 megabits down and half a megabyte up. And they said that was the best I could ever get there. And could not even get cable there either, so that was all I could get. So I worked the Starlink once that first became an option to be able to order, and I've been running that for over a year. It's been working beautifully, flawlessly. I can connect to my cameras and check out the house whenever I want. Give me great throughput there. Plus, I have one at the hotel that I'm using now. So the reliability of it is really great. Yeah, that's my back porch at my house. Here it always wants to kind of stop. It needs to keep going. And this issue here, I always have, it gets into the left-hand turn lane and then works its way over, and it goes all the way over for some reason. I don't know why. But let me take care of that. Take care of work when I can. right of way. The others have to stop. And it should turn to the middle and not that far left for the turn lane and then work over. If I had cars behind me, it confuses the cars behind me. This is a pretty simple route. I could have, if I was leaving the airport and if I had enough charge at the time, I would have taken the back route. It's a little more tricky, and there's a few sections that is really anxiety producing. There's one where it sometimes doesn't want to see a certain stop sign. Where I wish it would use the navigation data on that stop sign. But it also is kind of confusing because you have to cross over incoming traffic to the right-hand lane, and it's such a sharp corner that it's hard for me to actually look over my shoulder to see if it's clear. Because I have to almost turn completely around in the car to see in that angle. But it's also not clear if the cars that are coming head-on are going to make a right and keep going, or if they're going to be going straight and cross right over in front of my tracks. And it's one of those things where I don't know if the car is creeping forward or if the car is trying to go. That is where I would love a tone like we get for the green lights. If we don't have the full self-driving on, when it just gets a ding when the light is green, I wish it would do the same thing when it's going to go in situations like that. I would not mind that little audible tone, or at least have the option to turn on an audible tone. Now we can look at the screen and see that it says it's creeping forward, and you see the creep line when it's doing it, but we need to be paying attention to the road and the traffic. So on those times, I'm busy looking at the traffic around me and not at my screen. So that's kind of counterintuitive. You want us to pay attention to the road, but you want us to pay attention to the screen to see what the car is doing. Give me a tone. That would help out a lot. And like I was explaining to somebody, I think it'd be nice if Tesla could add on to, the full self-driving, maybe not full self-driving, but driver protection mode, that if someone who doesn't have the full self-driving appears to be having problems, not staying in the line or what have you, or dozing off or something, that the car would take over. And maybe not complete the drive, but take over and safely pull over to the side of the road or into a parking lot and come to a stop until the person responds or appears awake. Let's go a little bit further. If the person's not responding, just tell them to, you have so many minutes to respond on the screen if they're okay or not. Otherwise, it's going to call 911 and dispatch emergency services. Because God forbid if the person's driving and they have a stroke or a heart attack. I mean, if they become impaired and need medical help, it'd be nice if the car can be there for them. I kind of say that because a lot of people that I talk to, they really enjoy seeing the full self-driving, and they keep mentioning how this would be a perfect option for their elderly parents who've gotten older and not doing. I had to step on the gas there because I had a car coming up way too fast behind me, and that pickup truck car wasn't sure if it's going to cut in front or not. But that's where the car should be watching the vehicles behind me. So I don't think the car behind me was paying attention. But yeah, a lot of people I talk to that on driving, they like the full self-driving. They like those options. They think it'll be great for their elderly parents who are not as good of drivers anymore to be able to use that. My mother, she passed away from a stroke. She was at her home when she did that. But if she was on the road driving, not only would that be dangerous for other people around her at the time, but she passed away. So, but if she was in the car and having a stroke, and the car can detect that she's not paying attention, and if it pulled over and called 911, would she still be alive? That's kind of a question I wonder. Right now we have traffic merging in here because of construction. Sometimes the car gets too impatient and wants to jump over the left lane to try to pass, even though the left lane is ending. They need to look for signs and see construction signs like this. At this time, I think I do have it in chill mode, so yeah, it's not being too aggressive. So it is kind of waiting. There is a train up ahead passing at the train tracks here, and luckily it was a short train. Previous versions of full self-driving. Last year I was not too happy coming through this area of these construction barrels. For some reason the car all of a sudden jerked hard right and was on the other direction here when they had the right-hand lanes closed, and it hit one of the barrels. I mean, the front right headlight just nailed the barrel just out of the blue. I do not know why that version did that, why all of a sudden it jerked. Undoubtedly it was thinking there was an opening, it was going to try to go around it, but it did physically hit that barrel. Another time I had my right hand mirror shattered because it was too close to one of the barrels and it hit the mirror. That was kind of an odd one, because a lot of times it moved over for that barrel, but that one particular time it didn't. So that, I replaced the mirror itself. I found some replacement mirrors that fit in, that gives me a nice, a little bit wider view on the mirror, on Amazon for like $12, so it wasn't that bad. But it folded the mirror all the way in, but it was with such force that the glass shattered on it. But those are also the previous builds of the software. Since then, it's been doing beautifully, and now I don't mind it in construction areas because I've got more comfortable and it's doing a lot better job. And I know I'm rambling, but hey, I'm trying to make some type of content and explain things to y'all if you don't know about Teslas. But yeah, having it to be able to detect if someone needs assistance, even if they're drunk and it takes over because they're too drunk, and not driving safely and endangering other people, would be nice. Because it's a matter of safety. Right now it's changing lanes to stay out of rightmost lane. I don't know why it does that here. That's navigation error or navigation issue there. I can move it back into the right lane, but usually if I do that, it will get back over there again. Technically, you're not supposed to be in the left-hand lane unless you're passing someone. In a lot of states, they're really pushing that now. Now it's getting back over. It's wanting to stay in that left-hand lane, and that's the nav issue. And like I say, if I had a police officer who just was not having a good day or whatever his reasoning, he could get on my case for that. There are some signs up in Texas to remind people to stay right unless you're passing. But that's, like I say, one of the few issues I have with the Tesla is all boils down to navigation issues. $740 for all four. I'm averaging 65,000 miles on a set of tires. I do not drive crazily. As you see, I keep it in chill mode, so I don't utilize the 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds all the time. That saves a lot of wear and tear on the tires. I usually charge my car daily to 90%. This car, when I first bought it, since it has the performance boost and it's a 2018 Tesla Model 3 long range, it had the full self-driving already on it. My previous one, I had this full self-driving on it as well. When I bought this one, it had a rated range of 280 miles on a full charge. Now recently, after putting over 110,000 miles on it, I am getting on a full charge 174 miles of range. So I lost about 6 miles over that for the past year. I do almost supercharge every day, so it's not like I am, babying the battery. It is a work vehicle. I use this to make money and hopefully to get ahead. Doing Uber and Lyft is a good option for me because I don't have to worry, if SpaceX starts to do something, like if they're going to have a static fire tomorrow. I'm not saying they're going to have a static fire tomorrow, but if I hear word that there's going to be a static fire, I can just not turn on the app. And I can just break out the cameras and film and watch. I am trying to make as much money as I can to pay back all the money that I have been spending on cameras and stuff. Staying at a hotel for 3 years is not easy. I'm in a single hotel room. I usually wind up, unfortunately, eating out way too much, which I have to stop. So I've been doing what I can to cook at home, or at the hotel, I mean. I recently broke down yesterday and I actually picked up a big 4.4 cubic feet, or cubic foot refrigerator. That's a 2-door. Picked up at Lowe's, or Home Depot actually, and surprisingly it actually was able to fit in the car, take up the entire back seat. I have carried a 65-inch TV in the back before, in my other house. But this bigger refrigerator gives me a little more cooking space, or a little bit more food storage. I do have Tesla insurance. I absolutely hate their late night driving penalty they give. That if you're driving anytime after the hours of 10 p.m. and before 4 a.m., they ding you. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It is really bad. I drove like 260 miles one day, had a perfect 100 score, and I pull up to the hotel, and I'm pulling into the parking space, and I'm backing into the parking space, and I hit park. Right when I did that, it was 10 p.m. and 35 seconds. Only 35 seconds after 10 p.m. And bam, I was down to a 98 driving score for that day. Just for 35 seconds after 10 p.m. And when that increases your insurance, it's hard to understand. Now right there it changed lanes again. And it also was braking there. And that was nav data. I don't care what time of the day it is, rain or shine, it always does the exact same thing there every time. Now it is moving into the right-hand lane. Tesla needs to work on the navigation data issues. The car should be able to start memorizing or remembering common routes, because Lord knows I go back and forth between the island and this airport usually 2 or 3 times a day. Between this airport or the Brownsville airport is my most common route that I take. And the car should have the option or the ability to memorize and adjust for these little bitty issues like this. Like I said, I'm trying to, cut down on eating out all the time, trying to save money. Spending money to save money, which is kind of odd, I spent $200 for a mini fridge to give me more storage. And, I'm asking my girlfriend to, make she's currently up in Pennsylvania. I miss her greatly. But she's up in Pennsylvania, and I'm asking her to film every now and then when she cooks something so I can try to recreate what she's cooking. She is Chinese. The food she cooks is just incredible. No matter how many times I try or how much I watch what she does, I just cannot get my food to taste like hers. I don't know what it is. I can use the exact same ingredients. Now it's getting back in the left-hand lane to stay out of the rightmost lane again. It shouldn't be trying to stay out of the rightmost lane. It's supposed to be staying in the rightmost lane unless it's passing. And I'm choking here. Coming up to Laguna Vista, it sees that speed limit, it's going out. I am very thankful in the latest update that it actually does put actual effort into slowing down at the speed limits, and it's doing it comfortably. So it is dropping down like it should. I have not been able to really see if it will actually recognize a school zone lights during a certain time during the day. I have not been alongside a bus when it was stopping to see if it would actually see the bus stop sign and stop itself. Now, those are some of the things that I kind of don't take chances on, but would love to know if it does. Just like I would love to see if a police vehicle was behind me with the lights on, would the car pull over and come to a stop on the shoulder. I mean, if there's a police car behind me, it should pull over so they can either pass or pull me over, either way. A few times I've had police vehicles coming up behind me and they'll be in the other lane, and for some reason my car wants to change lanes and cut them off, which is not a good thing. It needs to recognize the emergency lights in both rear and the front. Now, a lot of people think that would be easy to do, but that's not easy to do. So many emergency vehicles have different patterns of lights, different layouts of the lights, and sometimes different colors. There are a few states that would use all blue for police vehicles. I've seen some that still use all red. So that is not an easy thing for it to do. As far as any flashing lights, well, that's not good to respond to. So that's going to be harder for the AI to learn to figure out, is this a police car, an ambulance, a fire truck? If it's any one of those, we need to take, precaution. If it's a construction vehicle, I mean, I've seen a lot of construction vehicles using blue and yellow lights. I have seen a couple using blue and red, which I don't think they really should be doing. I think if it's blue and red, it should be an emergency vehicle and not a construction vehicle. So yeah, the car has moved back into the right-hand lane at one point, and it's kind of sad, and I'm trying to figure out when did it do it. How long was it in that left-hand lane? I mean, I'm sitting there talking, and the car is doing the driving. I am paying attention to the roads, but I did not notice when it switched back. But it did it so smoothly that I did not notice. I'm watching the other vehicles and everything else around me, so I did not catch that. So did it just move to the left-hand lane to stay out of the rightmost and then move back on its own shortly afterwards? That's also nav issue. I think it was just back and forth. If I recall, I think it's going to do it again. It's going to move back into the left-hand lane. Usually runs once we get past the school here, but then move back into the right-hand lane. And yet these things are kind of annoying. And like I say, it is navigation issues. I'm not sure what the people behind me think when they're driving, seeing me just switching lanes back and forth. If I was a police officer, I might want to pull that guy over and see if he's lost or what. Right now, he's trying to make out that green light because we got the sun directly behind us, so all three of the lights were kind of lit up because of the sunlight, so it did break for that. But I think I was able to finally determine that the light was in fact green, so it kept going. I have had that issue, and probably would have that issue in about 10 minutes. When the sun gets a little bit lower, because it is directly into that light, and I cannot even tell which light is lit. But yeah, right now we're still in the right-hand lane, where we kind of should be. It's not going to switch this time. I don't know. Sometimes I have some really weird issues up here. For some reason, it wants to make a right at the light to go straight. I don't know why. But that's only happened one or two times. proceed with this other car up here. He's trying to sometimes merge in. It'd be nice if, you know, there was a setting for the car to be kinder to other drivers, to try to figure out what they're doing. Granted, he wasn't using a turn signal, but knowing that this lane ends, I know that that's what he's going to do, is merge in. We're now in Port Isabel, just before the island. So, I just thought I will do a long video. And granted, it's not a complicated drive like Chuck Cook and them has. And I may do more videos. If you watch this at 2x speed, I think you can still understand what I'm saying. And that will cut down the time. Dr. Know-It-All is down in Florida, I believe, to catch the Starlink launch, or not the Starlink, but the launch down there at Cape Canaveral. But I think I just saw something pop across from Twitter about strong winds, so sorry, John, you might not see the launch tonight. Hopefully you can hang out there long enough to catch another launch. Can't wait to see your video on that test drive you're hoping to do. I got to meet John, or Dr. Know-It-All, when he was down here South Padre Island for SpaceX. I've also got to meet Sandy Monroe when he was here. Very nice guy. I've met quite a few NASA astronauts. The entire crew of the Dear Moon, they were down here. The Polaris Dawn, I was able to pick up one of their patches for the Polaris Dawn mission. They were down here for an air show last year, flying their jets. It always gets turn signals here when they really don't need to have turn signals. This corner, sometimes it will break a little more than it should. I feel a couple little jerks there, but and then with this guy riding the bike here, it may want to. It doesn't know when someone's going to try to go straight across the street on a bike, or if he's going to be cutting the corner fast or not. So sometimes it'll break for them. But this is, Port Isabel, on the way to South Padre Island. Great place to view SpaceX from, and in Boca Chica for the Starship. We have a little bar here called Harper House. Hopper House. That's H-A-U-S, I think it was spelled. Should show up on here. Yeah, Hopper House, H-A-U-S, Bar and Grill. They have some pretty good food. They even have a cooker that looks like a Hoppy from SpaceX. Now here we're going over the bridge. It wants to stay at 30 miles per hour, but the problem is the bridge technically right here starts at 55. Even though they don't have a sign here yet. They have it further up on the bridge. But they do have a sign 500 feet back saying 55 miles per hour in 500 feet, which is the beginning of the bridge there. This bridge itself is 2 miles long. Interesting history of the bridge. A few days after 9/11 in 2001, the bridge was hit by a barge, collapsing a section of the bridge. And from what I understand, 11 people died total. The bridge was quite busy at the time. the barge operator was drunk operating the barge and made that mistake. He was fined and sentenced for that, but he also wound up taking his own life because of the guilt from it. But after he did that, from what I understand, a lot of people were stuck on the island for almost 2 months. They could ferry the people back and forth, but they couldn't get the vehicles back and forth. This is the only way on and off the island. It's still the only way on and off the island. We got a very nice clear day with some clouds out there over the Gulf. Some looks like a little bit of rain clouds. It might have a sprinkle or two, but nothing major. No thunderstorms here. Looks like we might have a very good Memorial weekend coming up. If you were in the car and you look straight out to the right, you can see SpaceX with the launch pad and serial number 25 there on the suborbital pad for testing. SpaceX tweeted out that it was sent to the suborbital pad for a static fire testing. Not sure when it's going to happen. There's a lot of nice places on the island. You can go to Mahi Nick's. They're closed on Mondays. They close at 6:30 in the evenings. Great mahi sandwiches and tacos. Very good food. If you like finer dining, I personally like Viva down near Tequila Sunset on the bay side. Beautiful place to eat dinner, nice steak dinner or seafood dinner you want. With a nice view of the sunset, which would be beautiful tonight. Those are a couple of good places. Also, if you're on the island staying for any of the time, breakfast. Yammy's Bistro is very good. Grapevine, everybody raves about Grapevine. Very, very good food there. Also, Josephine's Kitchen, extremely good food for breakfast. The Palms, I hear mixed reviews, but a lot of people seem to like the Palms. That's more on the Gulf side, so great for the sunrise. Wana Wana is also, I hear mixed views on it. But by far the best places for breakfast is Grapevine, then Josephine's or Yammy's Bistro. Those kind of rank up there about the same. Viva is actually, it's okay, it's handling that. It's merging in there just fine. It seems to want to drop down to 25 miles per hour, even though it just passed that 30 mile per hour sign. Only when it makes that turn. If I'm driving straight across, it won't do it. I mean, it saw the 30 mile per hour sign. I'm pretty sure it visualized the 30 mile per hour sign, but then it switched down to 25. Nav issue. Like I say, the only problems I have. Now it's going to work its way over here to get to the hotel. This was always a little wonky. I call it wonky because there's no road markings coming into the parking, the road for the hotel. So it tries to figure out where it is. There's a couple little openings. It's getting better at it. Now on the map, it has the left turn for the hotel actually past where the left turn is. So sometimes it gets a little aggressive trying to make that turn, trying to figure out exactly where it is. With this car in front of me, that might help a little bit. I'm not sure if they're going straight. Looks like they are kind of going straight to the Sea Vista. But like I said, yeah, right there, it just kind of totally missed the turn. So I'm going to have to back up. So I'm backing up because the car decided to completely miss that turn. And that, again, is a navigation issue. Because it shows the turn after where it's actually at. As you can see, this is where I'm at, and there's no road there. So the car in front of me actually made it really mess up because it was trying to follow that car. So yeah, for this drive, we just had what, this intervention here, and this intervention here, and I don't recall if there was another intervention. I think that was it. I think it handled it all the way. I mean, it did some dumb things, but nothing dangerous. But yeah, I think that was it. Anyway, I hope this brings you some insight in the way the Tesla full self-driving works. And I hope I was able to answer some questions that you might have. Thank you for watching. 51 minutes of me rambling on. Have a nice day.